Hello, everybody. My name is Yasid Ortega. I am currently based in Northern Ireland, Belfast, the capital. Um, I am a researcher. I'm a lecturer at Queen's University, Belfast. Right now, it is November 2024. And today, I'm going to start a new video series in relation to an important topic that I have been paying attention in the last few years because I think it is important for me at a personal level, but also for me at an academic, professional, research level of a topic that is very close to me. And in a sense, I'm doing these videos as a way to put it out there in the world as a legacy to the new generations to pay attention to issues that a lot of people don't pay attention much, especially as researchers or educators, right? And in relation to who we are, our identities, and um, uh, who we are specifically, right? So I don't necessarily intend to edit this video. I wanted this video to be as fresh, originally uncut, unedited as much as possible, because I want you, the viewer, to have a sense of the nature of the content of this video. So these video series are related to my views, my experiences, and my personal journey through neurodiversity. I am a neurodivergent person. I was diagnosed with ADHD almost 10 years ago. And this has been a blessing and a curse, but more a blessing than a curse, meaning like I learned a lot of things about myself, who I am, and who I have been throughout all my years. Um, but I also hope for these videos to shade some light out there to the world about these issues of neurodiversity and ADHD, specifically in adults and people who we never thought about having ADHD or these sort of conditions. So I'm gonna start us today with why. Why now? And it got me thinking and think, why not? And it is important to me that it is a moment in life that I want to stop hiding or masking things that society in itself wants you to be, but also who you are supposed to be in terms of how you are presented in society, right? And in order to do that, I just probably circle back to how this came to be. And obviously, these videos are sort of unscripted, so I don't know where these videos are going, but I hope also not to take too much time of developing the ideas. But the video today, the first video, I guess, is just about the how this came to be, the roots, the initials, ideas, or how this came to be. So back in the day, around 10 years ago or so, what is it? We are 2024 now, so it was probably 2024, 2014-ish. I was sort of wrapping up my master's degree at the University of Toronto. And I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine about, the ups and downs of doing academic research, writing academic work, and why not. And to this, I was sharing with my colleague about the struggles that I've been having for a long time, in terms of writing. and specifically academic writing, but also the struggle that I had about reading. And when it comes to read chunks of information that are like thick and big, and I was having a hard time. In the end, I managed to do it, but I was sharing with my colleague the difficulties of both the reading thick pieces of information, but also writing information in relation to these. And at the same time, I was also sharing something curious about me, about how I am, and I was, and I am able to read sort of backwards. When it comes to books or articles or why not, I'm able to read quickly backwards and upside down. So if you show me a book upside down, I'm able to read really quick. But also, I was sharing with my colleague that I was sharing that I guess I have dyslexia, I said, because as I write, I tend to flip words one for the other, or sentences, or even sometimes ideas that are supposed to be here and then there, and then I sort of jumble ideas, jumble words, and then I said, I think I have dyslexia because I always have to go back to the document that I'm writing and sort of proofread it and make sure that I'm not altering the words, or sometimes the letters within words were sort of flip or backwards, and sort of that correlated with the idea of how I was able to read backwards pretty quick. And then my colleague said, listen, it looks like you might have something in terms of any type of reading disability, or kind of like a dyslexia actually, or maybe some kind of like learning disability. We never know. So why don't you get yourself assessed about what you got and how you can be helped? And I was not surprised. We are very close friends with the colleague, and I got me thinking a few weeks, like thinking around this idea that in a sense this is true what my colleague was saying, that I think I have something. And I also, this something that I have is not something that I just had it like a few months ago or a few years ago, but this is something that I've been having all my life, right? And what I'm saying in the past that I said is a curse and a blessing is because I do remember back in the day when I was probably primary and secondary, and why not an undergrad, this idea of always being sort of having erratic ideas, and flashes of ideas coming into my brain back and forth. Um, one example, probably in primary or something. I remember the teacher saying to me, but also saying to my mother, that this little kid is just too fast about making conclusions and coming up with ideas, and he's way too creative. So I don't think he should be in this particular um, grade. So he needs to be moved up because he's too quick, too fast to come up with conclusions, and then that sort of stops the other students and sort of make students feel awful because he's already way ahead of what the others are doing. So in a sense, I moved from, I think, first to second grade at that time, and then I was able to understand quick and fast, especially numbers, mathematics, and you know geometric figures and all of those sorts of things. So I was really good about that. And then all this conversation with my colleague made me flash back to those moments. Also, when I was with my mom in a bus and I was always asking her questions about why this, why that, why over this, why over this, why is this happening, why that's happening, and then all trying to jump in into things here and there. And my mom sort of was like this little kid is too fast to me. Like I don't know what to do. So obviously, my mother paid a lot of attention at giving me the education that I needed at the time, because it looks like education was the only way to actually solve my situation with this thing. Now, going back to my conversation with my colleague when I was wrapping up the master's degree, So then I thought about it. You know what? That's true. Let me see what I have. And I talked to, I guess, folks at the University of Toronto and say, hey, listen, it looks like I have this and that. I've been going through these, especially during the masters, having difficulties putting this together, writing this here and there. And then the person said, yeah, well, why don't we get you evaluated for that and see what happens. And at that time I applied to I think it was like some kind of funding that the university and the Ontario government provides for these kinds of things. And I sort of applied to this particular piece of funding because I didn't know an ADHD evaluation. It can be expensive, and a lot of people actually, I was reading, they're underdiagnosed or not diagnosed because it's just so expensive for people to actually have the money to do this. And obviously, for my mom was at that time when we were little in Colombia, in South America. Obviously, for me, it was just a little misbehaved child, or just I don't know, like a child who is always in the move, I guess she would say. So all poor people never have the time to go to the doctor or to the psychologist or to spend money on this um test, because you have to bring money to the table, right? To pay for food, and why not? So you don't worry about these things. And that's why it's only until now, when as an adult, a grown adult, that I'm paying attention to these things. And so we didn't have money for that. So for me, I've been carrying on with my life, pretending that everything is normal, or now that I know the actual vocabulary for this, masking the idea to be normal. And then going back to this idea of the diagnosis. So I applied to this funding, that is a little bit of funding from the University of Toronto, but also funding from Ontario government. And I don't want to give details because, it would take me more time to do that. But I got the funding after a few weeks, or I guess a month or something, of applying and getting feedback and blah, blah, blah. Finally got the funding, and then I got scheduled to see a psychiatrist for 2 days. So it was a Saturday, a Friday, and a Saturday day, 2 days of sort of different hours during those days to do different types of tasks. And different types of tasks were about, like, imagine like a standardized testing of reading comprehension. So it was more or less like that, about reading passages, answering questions. And then it was a portion of interviewing as well, asking questions about my life, about how I do things and things like that. But one thing that it stood out to me about that particular evaluation was they also wanted some kind of external appraisal from folks who know me, two or three. And I think I reached out to two or three, gave them the information to the psychiatrists reach out to each other, or something along those lines, or fill out a form or something like that, that they have to do an evaluation or an appreciation to who I am, and the way I behave, the way I speak, the way I relate to folks. So in a sense, after 2 days of all of these exhaustive tests of reading and writing and answering questions, and that's when I realized, oh, how exhausting this is. Like, too much reading, answering questions, to pay attention to details and things like that. And then like a couple weeks after, I got an email from the psychiatrist to see me in person, because she wanted to talk to me and give me the actual document, or with the final results of the analysis of this evaluation. Um, and certainly I went there, and I sit down for like an hour, and then the psychiatrist, said to me, you see, this is, I'm going to give you the evaluation, the results of the evaluation. I did the analysis, the triangulation and why not of all of these documents, plus the test, plus the interview, plus everything that I got. And the results are, you have ADHD. And it looks like you have been having ADHD. It's just like either you didn't know, or you've been masking you're being good at masking that is almost un, unperceivable. And she gave me like a 20 or more page summary of details about the thing. I got it, and I realized at that moment that's the ADHD. I didn't read the whole thing at that moment. I went to the last page, and the last paragraph or sort of like that. It says, Yesid Ortega has ADHD, and then some details about the details of ADHD that I don't want to share with you. It takes too much time to tell you all the details about aspects of ADHD, but it does say that, and then sort of the document finishes with some support and help of what to do now that you have this information, and one of those is um, getting medication. The psychiatrist also told me if you want medication, I will be able to guide you through this and how I can help you. Let me know. So I said, sure, I will reach out, no problem. But I do remember that particular day. I went home, I took the document and I went through it and skim it and read things here and there. But I remember closing the document and then I cried. And then I cried and I cried and I cried, not because it was something wrong, it's because finally I had a name for something that I've been having for a long time, and I had in in my heart and in my soul for a long time, and I had an answer of the reasons why some friends would call me this way or that way, with a significant other person that I was for a while. She will tell me that I was just erratic, that I never paid attention, that I didn't that I was just yeah, like an erratic person, that I wouldn't care. Some others saying that I interrupt conversations. Some others says that your writing is not up to the standards, and so on and so forth. So when I was reading the results, obviously all of these ideas came to me, and it was like finally I know that all of the reasons why I am different and I have been different, and my close friends have already told me, yeah, man, you have always been different than anybody. Like I remember like this is who you are. You are different. You are not like any of us in a positive sense. And just to wrap up the end of this video, because I don't want to make it longer than it is, two things that I want to mention. One is another colleague of mine recently, like a month ago or so, we had an exchange on WhatsApp about different issues, but also about ADHD. And I told her, listen, just so you know, I have ADHD. And then she replied, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you have ADHD. And I asked her, why you're not surprised? Why you act or you're telling me you're, so, but she said, because you're different. Your way of thinking, your way of approaching me, your way of approaching your ideas are not the way I approach or I've been approached in different ways from other people. So when you tell me you have ADHD, I am not surprised. I'm saying, yes, this is you. This is who you are. And then it got me thinking, it is in a sense, a good thing to me to know that. And then the second thing and last thing that I want to mention, and perhaps I will bring it next time, is what is ADHD anyways? Right? So it got me thinking at that time and throughout these 10 years of that is ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So it got me thinking, but I'm not hyperactive. I'm not like those children that are all the time like moving and trying to go here and there. But then through my readings and the psychiatrists and the doctors have told me is like the hyperactivity does not have to be in terms of physical things that you move physically out there and erratic, because sometimes and most of the time this hyperactivity, it's in your mind, it's inside. And it got me thinking, yes, that's what it is. That's how it has been. Always this flashing and movements of ideas nonstop. And in the next videos, I'm gonna be working on specifics of what is ADHD and what are some examples. So every video, I'm gonna bring a different example of what ADHD is, and one example from the literature, and then examples of my own personal life. But one thing to wrap up is ADHD got me thinking, is this a disability? And when I was in Canada living, the literature and in the, let's say, the doctors or psychiatrists say it is a disability because having ADHD does not allow you or does not help you to function in the quote unquote normal life. That's when I've been learning the topics of neurodiversity or neurodivergent person and neuronormality, or neurotypical person. So when somebody is neurodivergent, then it's because it's a disability that does not allow you, or it hinders your way to work and act and live a quote unquote neurotypical life. And I guess that's a conversation at some points, because that's the part that I struggle the most, that I have to tell myself that I am disabled, right? Compared to my deaf friends, or some friends who have problems with mobility as well, or they are missing a limb, or they are blind, or whatever. So then in the collective consciousness, it looks like being disabled is them being deaf, being blind, being not able to move. That's this disability. But I also learned to understand that having this thing in my mind is also a disability. Some people call it invisible disability. We don't call this invisible because it might be ableist. I prefer call it unperceived disability. And that's what I have. I have an unperceived disability. You see me in the street, you see me at work, you see me with my friends as a quote unquote neurotypical person. But there is so many things happening in my mind that I will share with you. So that being said, it is ADHD. It is a developmental disorder that affects my behavior and has impacted many areas of my life. And I will be sharing with you through these journeys in what aspects has helped me and not what this is. So this neurodevelopmental disorder is a condition, and that's the thing. It's a condition, and at some point I want to push the boundaries a little bit in the future about what's the difference between a condition that affects the development or a disability. It looks like the word disability is like you're able and now you're not able, right? But the idea of a condition makes you think that within this world, within this universe that you see here, I am one of these ones, could be that one over here, could be this one over here, right? So that's what the neurodiversity paradigm is so wonderful, because anybody on the human species can be in this universal, or some other word that I've been working is pluriversal, neurodiversity universe, in which instead of saying able and not able like a binary thing, like neurodivergent and neurotypical, it is in we are all in this universe. Some people are able to do this, some others are not, some others yes, some others have these different, and instead of seeing in binaries, then we all belong in this neurodiverse, this universe over here, that we are in different colors and shapes and forms and shades, etc. So I'm gonna finish for today, because in the next videos that I don't know when they're coming, um, this will be more clear to me and to you with some specific examples of my experience. Thank you very much.